Goodbye, royal life, and hello, Hollywood. Prince Harry's royal duties end as he moves to Malibu, while Meghan returns to the movie screen.
Elephant, narrated by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex.
And Prince Charles is out of self-isolation after testing positive for the coronavirus, while the royal kids give thanks to healthcare workers. Plus, royal historian Hugo Vickers helps us break down what is true and untrue about the Crown.
But realize that it's probably not true. And the problem I find with The Crown is that it is so well written, so lavishly produced, so well acted, with very good stars in it, that it's terribly convincing. But fundamentally, it's very dishonest.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Carly, and we are, again, doing this from our homes. How are you?
I am good, staying safe and inside. How are you?
Same, safe and inside. A lot of people are saying they're going a little stir crazy, but you know what? That's okay. As long as we're safe, as long as we're healthy. And I want to give a shout out to all those healthcare workers because they are really the stars in all of this.
Definitely. Thank you to everyone on the front line keeping us safe.
Yeah, totally. But we have a lot. A ton. We say it every week that we have a lot, but this week we really have a ton to talk about.
We do, and I think we sort of expected it to be a slower week, and you and I were both surprised that every day there were multiple things going on.
Multiple things. Okay, so let's kick it off with our roundup of everything that has happened this week. And of course, we have to kick it off with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle saying goodbye to their royal life and, kind of embarking on this brand new journey. And they did it with a, kind of a sign off on their Instagram, right, Carly?
They did. They did it with one of their signature blue panels that we've come to expect from them on Instagram. And they acknowledged what's going on right now. They said the world is in an extremely fragile place right now. We're all trying to sort of figure out our role in it. They thanked the community that they built up on Sussex Royal. Obviously, they can no longer use Royal in their website or on their Instagram. And they told fans sort of, thank you for everything that you've been a part of here, and we'll talk to you guys soon. And then separately, in another statement issued through PR people in Buckingham Palace, they said that they're no longer going to be updating the website or the Instagram going forward.
Wow, that's kind of crazy. Were you surprised that they did it this way? God.
Yeah, I was really surprised that they did it this way, but also I think this date, March 31st, the last day of their royal duties, was, talked about so many months ago, and there's no way that they could have planned for this global pandemic. So this wasn't the original plan. I think originally what they wanted to do is say, we're going to shut down these accounts, but come follow us here. And right now is just not the time to launch a brand or make anything about you.
No, 100%. Yeah, this kind of, they have to put everything on pause, which is pretty much what they said. They said that they'll reconnect with us in the next few months, right?
Right. We're going to learn more about that nonprofit organization. It will not be a foundation. Just to echo what you were saying, so many people have criticized them for their every move, and they didn't give critics anything to talk about. They just signed off and were pretty silent about their projects going forward. And when all of this calms down, they're gonna clue us in on what's next for them.
So do we know if Harry has spoken to anybody in the royal family? We know that Prince Charles tested positive for the coronavirus. And with them leaving the royal family, do we know if anybody has reached out?
Right now, all that we know is that Prince Harry has spoken with his father after he tested positive. Details of their royal exit were hashed out so long ago, and Buckingham Palace did issue a statement, about their exit on Monday, but they said that that's the last time that they'll be speaking on behalf of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and won't be commenting further on them.
Oh, right your hand.
I know. So final. Yesterday, maybe it's because I've been stuck inside for weeks. It was rainy outside. It felt like a really sad, thing. They brought so much to the monarchy. And yesterday, just knowing that, they wouldn't be representing the Queen, sort of for a history buff and a royals reporter like me, it felt really somber.
The end of a chapter. It's the end of a royal era, right? Let's talk a little bit more about Prince Charles, because last week we said he tested positive. This week he's out. It seemed really quick, but they said that he's doing okay.
He is doing okay. In the UK, it's only 7 days for self-isolation once you test positive, but he's doing great. He was experiencing only mild symptoms, so we never heard that things got bad. He was still working the entire time. Camilla, for right now, is still self-isolating from her husband at the moment, because when you are looking for symptoms, you have to be in isolation for 14 days. But so far, they're both doing well. They're still in Scotland right now.
Good. And
Yeah.
we don't know how or when he got this because he was around so many people. But a couple people have come forward saying, I didn't do it, wasn't me.
Right, exactly. Prince Albert of Monaco, who tested positive for coronavirus before Prince Charles, was at the same event with the Prince of Wales on March 10th. He gave an interview last week where he, denied giving it to Prince Charles. He said, "We were at a very long table. We did not shake hands." As we know, Prince Charles was giving everyone the namaste greeting. But Prince Albert said, the Prince of Wales could have caught this from so many people. It was not intentional. I don't think there's any way to pinpoint who we got it from.
Definitely. But there a lot of some other big events have been canceled due to the coronavirus, right?
Mm-hmm. That was sort of in limbo, Trooping the Color, which it hasn't been officially canceled yet. They said it won't go around in its traditional form. I mean, it's a massive military parade that draws tons and tons of people and hundreds of thousands of people in the crowd. There's no way that this can go forward in June. But it's personally one of my favorite celebrations. It is celebrating the Queen's birthday, but the Queen's birthday is actually in April. But because the weather is so much better in June, that's when they actually celebrate it. It's very British.
I would love to. My birthday's in April, so I would like to move mine to June as well, which might actually have to happen this year.
It actually, yeah, it probably will happen for you this year. But that's the biggest one. That the last time that was canceled was in 1955 because of a strike. So, like we've said the past few weeks, we're watching, history in so many ways, and that the royal family never shirks their duties, and now they're having to cancel these really big things.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And, this was an event that we thought Harry and Meghan might come back for.
Yes, we did think that Meghan and Harry would come back for this because this is when the entire royal family gets together and they wave from the balcony of Buckingham Palace, waving to fans, and then there's a flyover. And this is just such an important moment for the royal family. It's really symbolic. So as of now, everything is really on hold for Meghan and Harry's travel plans to come back to the UK. They were supposed to be in Scotland with the Queen, but so far no one has an end date on when this pandemic will end. So everything's pretty much in limbo.
Definitely. One thing that is not in limbo is where Harry and Meghan are currently staying. So let's spill the royalty on everything we know about their big move from Canada to Malibu. This was really surprising and kind of quick.
It was really, really quick. They did a really good job. I think their new PR team was behind this, of talking about Meghan's Disney movie role on Wednesday. And then 6 hours later, when a lot of British news outlets had already printed their front pages, it was announced that Meghan and Harry had moved to LA at around 6 p.m. Eastern, our time. Which honestly just blew me away. Two pieces of huge news on Wednesday. We've known that this was coming for a few weeks and a few months because of the coronavirus pandemic. This really sped things up because Canada actually closed its borders with the US shortly after. But Meghan and Harry are rumored to be living in a $20 million mansion in Malibu right now. Yeah, so self-isolation hopefully is going pretty well for them. But yeah, they're California people now. Crazy.
Crazy. I mean, we've been reporting that, this was going to happen maybe over the summer, but like you said, they're closing their borders, and this seems like the perfect move because they have such a great support system in California already.
They do. They have so many friends and family. I mean, they have the Clooneys, the Beckhams, James Corden, who emceed their wedding. And most importantly, they have Meghan's mom, Doria Ragland, who is a yoga teacher there. And what I think is really interesting is when Meghan and Harry were engaged, I really expected Doria to move over because Meghan is really close with her mom. You would think that she would want part of her support system there if her mom felt comfortable leaving her job behind. But it sort of, begs the question, when did Meghan and Harry first think about leaving the royal family? Could it have been sooner than we thought?
Oh, totally. It seems like this has been in the works for quite some time.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because Harry has, he spent time in California. He did military training there in 2011 for 2 months. And then actually, Paul Burrell, Princess Diana's former butler, said in an interview in 2003 that before Princess Diana's death, she was planning on moving to Malibu with, Harry and William and splitting time. So it's really interesting to think that we know that Meghan's from there, but Harry has always had this connection to California as well.
Maybe this is something that he just always wanted to do, kind of like fulfill his mom's dreams, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And there's better weather in California. There's such great tacos. There's yoga. I mean, I just can't wait to see what these royals turn into.
I know, totally. I mean, we did have some reporting this week in Us Weekly that Harry does feel a little guilty about leaving, which is, probably understandable. You're going through all these different emotions, like you're leaving your family behind, starting over this brand new chapter. So I would imagine that there is a little bit of guilt, especially with everything going on in the state of the world, too.
Definitely. I think guilt and sadness, which, a lot of us feel if we're moving somewhere or if we're starting a new job, this is magnified because he's in a family business, essentially. But his whole identity has really been wrapped up in being a royal. And this is the first time in his 30 plus years of life that he's leaving behind a lot of what he knows with no end date. They'll check in another year. But now he's really away from a lot of his support system and his friends. Of course, Harry and Meghan are both international figures. They have friends everywhere. But yeah, I imagine right now it's a very hard time to transition to this new life.
Oh, totally. But the one thing we know that they will not be receiving is any security from the U.S. government, because Donald Trump, in the midst of everything going on, he tweeted out that they will not have any protection.
He did. Over the weekend, I am not sure what Donald Trump was reading or what someone told him, but this, was at the forefront of his mind. Donald Trump tweeted that he respected the Queen a lot and that Meghan and Harry would not be getting any funds from U.S. taxpayers. But right now, we know that Charles is committing $2.5 million to Harry and Meghan's security. And Harry and Meghan will, hire the best bodyguards and security teams that they can. Obviously, these are two of the most famous people in the world. They really need to be protected.
So, Carly, we just found out what Meghan's first job post-royal life is, and she is voicing the Disney movie Elephant. So take a look.
Elephant, narrated by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, follows one family's extraordinary 1,000-mile journey across Africa on an adventure that will change their lives.
So, Carly, you actually saw Elephant, right?
I have actually seen it. Yes, I watched it over the weekend, and it's just the quintessential Disney documentary. It's so beautifully shot. It's so almost jarring to hear Meghan because the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, that's the Duchess of Sussex speaking. But it's so cute. It follows a family of elephants. There are two sisters. One is 50, one is 40, and one has a young 1-year-old son, and it follows their months-long journey to go get water. And I mean, I'm a crier. There's one moment that's a little dodgy, but it's such a good family movie, and I think people will really enjoy watching it.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes out Friday, April 3rd,
Mm-hmm.
correct? You can watch it on Disney Plus.
You can. And of course, some critics have already hit out at Meghan and said that her commentary is schmaltzy or it's really sugary. And to that I say, it's a Disney movie.
Remember the audience.
Exactly. Yeah, I hope once you get to see it, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. And all the proceeds, she didn't get paid for this. All the proceeds are going to Elephants Without Borders, correct?
Elephants Without Borders, yes. And so this was the deal that was reported on early January. I think it was January 11th. That someone said that Meghan had recorded this in the fall in London. So this has also been a long time coming. But again, she's not getting any profits from it. It sort of falls right in line with Meghan and Harry's conservation work.
I love it. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit, and we want to bring in royal historian and author of The Crown Dissected, Hugo Vickers. Well, Hugo, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
So before we dive into the book, which we have so many questions about, we wanted to get your reaction on, Harry and Meghan. They are done with their royal duties and have packed up and moved to California. So what was your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction all the way through, I'm afraid, has been one of great sadness because I think that they were doing such a good job within the system. And obviously, you must appreciate I'm English. I've always lived in England, but I'm also very keen on the Commonwealth. And I have a scheme where I go around putting walkways in Commonwealth countries. And I've seen what Prince Harry, particularly, and Meghan, actually, both of them can achieve in the Commonwealth on short, sharp visits. And I think that they were doing such a good job. I think it's such a pity. And unfortunately, of course, it's very, very ill-timed because at this time when we're all in a great state of worry about everybody, in a way, somehow one really wanted Prince Harry back here helping us out rather than, pursuing his own endeavors, however admirable they may be.
And what has it sort of been like to watch Harry and Meghan rewrite history, especially right now?
Well, it's been again. I think the word sad springs to mind. At the Commonwealth Observance in 2018, they were sitting next to each other, and it was sort of electric. The atmosphere between them, everything they were taking in was flashing off each other. And then a year later, and I don't say this in retrospect, when I saw Prince Harry come in, I thought, oh dear, he does look extremely uncomfortable and very unhappy, as if he's a man who's kind of realizing that he's taken on more than he can cope with and that it wasn't quite what he was bargaining for. And I think subsequent events, unfortunately, have proved that to be the case.
Do you think that he almost wishes he was back in the UK at this point with everything kind of going on with, Prince Charles getting sick? Do you think that eventually, he'll return to his royal duties, or is this something that he, maybe regrets a little bit?
Well, the Queen has left the door wide open for him, as you know, unlike what happened when the Duke of Windsor abdicated Edward VIII, when the doors closed very firmly behind him. And I think that the Queen and her advisors and her family have realized that there's every possibility that he will come back. Unfortunately, the way I look at it at the moment, I think that he's very supportive of his wife. He's got a small child. They're very much acting as a team. And so I think there's a kind of anger and obstinacy in him, which I think will prevent him from coming back for the time being. But I hope he will come back. And whenever I meet journalists or editors, I always say, look, we must be really, really nice to him when he does come back, because it won't be easy for him. And he's very valuable to us,
Right now, so many of us are obviously stuck at home. People are binging a lot of TV. Inevitably, people will binge The Crown. You have written a wonderful book called The Crown Dissected, talking about the things that The Crown has gotten wrong. What would you like people to keep in mind if they're starting this show for the first time?
Okay, well, you see, I'm talking to you, and you're very intelligent, and you can make the decision to watch the show, enjoy it for what it is, but realize that it's probably not true. And the problem I find with The Crown is that it is so well written, so lavishly produced, so well acted, with very good stars in it, that it's terribly convincing. But fundamentally, it's very dishonest. What they do very often is they take two things which did happen and clash them against each other to make something that didn't happen. But if I can just jump forward, the worst thing that they did was in relation to Prince Philip, when they had an episode about Gordonston, the school in Scotland, where Prince Charles, we know, was unhappy. I think I would have been unhappy too. Anyway, I guess what happened back in the office was that they thought, okay, so Prince Philip sends Prince Charles to Gordonston, so he must hate his son. Hey, boys, we must find out a reason why Prince Andrew, his father, hates him. So they cook up this terrible scene where Prince Philip punches a boy, which he didn't, has his half-term cancelled. There was no half-term, and it wouldn't have been anyway. So he didn't go to Darmstadt, which, by the way, had there been half-term, he would have not gone to Darmstadt. So his sister, Cecile, who apparently hates flying, first time I heard that one, then takes a plane to England. And then, of course, you get the true bit, which is that she and her entire family were killed when the plane hit a factory chimney in the fog. And so the next thing you have is Prince Philip going to the funeral, meeting his father at the funeral. Well, actually, they traveled out together. His father then says, it's because of you, boy, that we're burying my favorite child. So they actually cook up a scene where they blame Prince Philip for the death of his sister. And just one last little tiny point on that. When I was writing a book about Prince Philip's mother, his archivist said the worst thing that ever happened to Prince Philip was when he was told that his sister and all her family had been killed. And the fact that she was pregnant at the time made it even worse. I think that's monstrous.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize, because you're watching something and you believe that this all happened. Like, why would they take such liberties with something like that? So, I think that would be a very jarring thing for a lot of people.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I wrote the little book, because even if you enjoy The Crown, my daughter, for example, who loves The Crown, she watches an episode, then she reads the book to find out what really happened. So it'll save you from a lot of Googling. When you get interested in a storyline, you can look in my little book instead of, surfing around on the internet to find out the truth. So
right. And something that I really like about your book is you will also acknowledge when they've gotten things right. And what's a storyline that you think they did well on The Crown?
Massa, I have to think about the storyline that they did well. I think they did do terribly well was when Claire Foy was playing the Queen. I thought they got her response to things very well. I thought they got her quiet assumption of the role of Queen and the dignity with which she took that on. She also somehow managed to get the Queen's theatrical timing very well. And one of her private secretaries said to me, well, how did she do that? She's never met the Queen. I said, well, actually, no, but I mean, she's obviously watched a lot of footage of the Queen talking, and she's picked it up. I mean, she does, but the Queen is very funny in real life, and the Queen has a tremendously good way of letting things slip out as an aside. Sometimes if you've asked her something, she'll be moving on to the next person, and then she'll just throw the line away and you have to grab it quickly. I mean, she's amazing like that. And I think Claire Foy caught that terribly well.
Do you know of any of the royals that watch The Crown and who refuses to do so?
Well, I think the younger ones all watch it. The thing about the Queen is that even if the Queen doesn't watch it, she kind of knows what's in it because people tell her, and she has very good radar. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I think it's the same with books. She doesn't have time really to read whole books, but she kind of gets the point of them very quickly. I think she did watch some of the earlier episodes, but I mean, I know I'm fairly certain Prince Philip doesn't watch it at all. He couldn't be bothered with that sort of thing.
Are you planning on writing another one of the next 2 seasons?
Oh yes, absolutely. I would have said my pen is poised, but my fingers are itching to get onto the keyboard, and I will certainly continue this work because I think it's worth doing, and I enjoy it. Actually, I will confess to you, there was one tiny moment in the last series. I can't quite remember what it was when I suddenly said, "Whoops! You're getting involved in the storyline here. You're suspending your critical faculties." I will confess that to you.
Well, thank you so much. This was such a pleasure talking to you. We got such great insight. I absolutely love it. Everybody go and pick up The Crown Dissected. It's a wonderful read. Thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with us, and we hope you stay safe and stay healthy out there.
And you too. Thank you very much for having me.
So with everyone practicing social distancing, people are going a little stir crazy, especially with kids. So we are breaking down the royal rules, but this time the royals are giving us the rules and giving us some activities that we can do with our kids at home, right?
That they are. And this one you can do if you have a printer, which not everybody does, but basically Buckingham Palace printed or did this drawing of this medal used in investiture ceremonies, which is where William, Charles, and the Queen give people who have been honored medals. So you can create your own medal. Whether or not you want to give this to a kid for, like completing homeschooling or who is the quietest that day. It's a little bit of a funny thing to give kids and might require some explaining, but it's pretty cute.
Definitely. And they're going to do this every single week for us so we can follow along.
They will every Monday. Who knows? Maybe next week it'll be like learning how to knight someone or something. I would love that.
Maybe. Well, before we wrap up, we have to check in, of course, with our royal kids. And they did something really sweet. They were, Kensington Palace shared a video of them cheering on the healthcare workers, right?
Yes, it's so cute. It shows George, Louis, and Charlotte all clapping. They were doing Clap for Our Carers, which most of the UK participated in last week. And it was such a fun look at how grown up they all are.
Oh.
It's the first time we've seen Louis standing, which is crazy. And Charlotte looks so much like Queen Elizabeth, don't you think?
She does. She really does. Yes. She takes after her grandma.
She does. And you can see her, she's a little funny at the end. She lets out like a little noise while she's clapping. You can tell she's mischievous, so it's really fun to watch.
100%. I love it. So, yes, they're doing their part. They're staying home, but they're still cheering everybody on, which I love.
Definitely. It was such a good morale booster. I know I needed it. That's for sure.
Me too. The royal kids can always lift our spirits.
Always.
Well, Carly, thank you so much. It was so good talking to you yet again.
Yes, I already can't wait for next week. So good to see you.
You too. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon. And for much more on the royals, head on over to usmagazine.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye.